Welcome to the deep dive, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights you need to be truly well informed. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating journey. It's one that's really going to challenge everything you thought you knew about building wealth.
That's right. Yeah, imagine a pivotal moment like the one the author describes.
Yeah.
A teenager seeing this gleaming Lamborghini Countach and having what he calls a Fastlane ignition of consciousness.
Mm,
That spark, it ignited this, well, radical idea
which is?
that true wealth doesn't have to be the reward for, 50 years of financial mediocrity
Yeah.
or decades of slow saving or just relentless frugality.
Okay. So our mission today is to dive deep into this, let's say, unconventional wisdom. We're
Right.
drawing surprising facts and actionable insights from the Millionaire Fastlane. We're going to unpack why the traditional get-rich-slow path might actually be, well, killing dreams for many people.
Exactly. And then map out an alternative roadmap. One for achieving financial freedom much, much faster.
So buckle up, because we're about to explore a profoundly different approach to building lasting wealth. Let's start with what the source calls the Great Deception. Basically, why the traditional get-rich-slow approach so often falls short. I mean, we've all heard the familiar playbook, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. Go to school, get good grades, graduate.
Find a secure job, invest diligently in the stock market, max out your 401k.
Cut up your credit cards and clip coupons.
Right. Then someday, around, 65 years old, you'll finally be rich. That's the promise.
And the author brilliantly satirizes the fantasy this advice often creates. And it's quite funny, actually. He challenges anyone. He says, show me a 22-year-old who got rich investing in mutual funds.
Right.
He just dismisses such notions as fairy tales of impossibility.
Hmm.
The core insight here is that true rapid wealth creation, especially for the young, isn't found in those traditional slow-growth financial vehicles.
It really makes you pause, doesn't it? I mean, does the idea of waiting until your 60s or 70s for financial freedom truly sound appealing?
Not really, no.
Especially when, as the source points out, that money might have, 50% of today's buying power because of inflation. That's a huge chunk.
And you can't ignore the risk of market crashes either. Like 2008, remember, people lost half their value, sometimes more.
Exactly. This wealth in a wheelchair plan, as he calls it, sounds less like a dream and more like a gamble. A gamble with your most precious, non-renewable asset, your time.
And it's precisely this scarcity of time that the author highlights as a major pitfall, especially when discussing what he terms the job trap. Jobs, in the context of wealth building, they inherently limit your leverage and your control over your income.
Oh, so?
Well, both compound interest, the Slowlane engine, and a traditional job, they consume vast amounts of your finite time. But they do it without granting you genuine control. Time, the author argues, is the ultimate linchpin. It's intrinsically tied to the mathematical handicaps of mortality.
Yeah.
So to trade your time away, that's trading your wealth away.
So, if trading your time for a paycheck is trading away your wealth potential, how do fastlaners achieve that every day is a Saturday reality, where they haven't sold off Monday through Friday?
Well, it comes down to creating systems. Systems that generate income independently of their direct linear time input. They don't just clock in and clock out. They build assets that work for them 204/7.
Okay, assets and systems. That makes sense.
And this brings us to another critical concept he talks about, education servitude.
Hmm.
The source argues that advanced degrees and the often crushing debt that comes with them, I mean, what is it, nearly $60,000 for an average college degree?
Yeah, or even more for private school, it says. A Ferrari worth.
Right. That kind of debt can effectively trap the victim to a job. It binds them. This debt, it argues, can bury the dreams of youth, basically forcing them onto a path of conformity just to pay it off.
So instead of relying solely on traditional education, the author champions a different kind of learning.
Exactly. He asserts that education didn't end with graduation. It started, which is a great line. He shares personal stories, like reading during dead time while driving limos or delivering pizza. He jokingly calls it toilet university and jobbing university.
Ha! Great.
The powerful takeaway is that self-directed, high-return learning done without that parasitic debt can be far more valuable than a conventional degree.
Okay, so learn on your own time. Use dead time effectively.
And this leads to an interesting paradox the author raises. When you observe financial gurus, he mentions Sues as an archetype who consistently preached the slow lane, mutual funds, 401ks, through various media channels.
Yeah, you see them everywhere.
It raises a crucial question. Did these gurus become wealthy by rigidly following their own advice? Or did they, as he puts it, leverage the Fastlane roadmap while they pitch you the slow lane? This is the paradox of practice. It really prompts us to critically evaluate where our financial advice comes from.
Hmm. That's a really insightful challenge. And it challenges the very idea of what we perceive as wealth, too, doesn't it? Society, the source argues, often conditions us to think wealth means immediate lavish luxury, the flashy car, designer clothes.
The Instagram lifestyle.
Exactly. But he calls this faux wealth. It's the illusion of wealth without actually possessing it. It's buying luxury to look rich, but it actually destroys real wealth. It creates what he calls a Chinese finger cuff effect, tightening the grip of poorness.
Yeah, you can't buy freedom at a Mercedes dealership, as he says, but you can erode it there.
So true.
And this false perception, it extends even to the word millionaire. The author points out that a slow lane millionaire, someone who got there slowly, might typically live in a pretty standard middle-class neighborhood, drive a Honda, vacation infrequently.
Clip coupons.
Clip coupons, absolutely. The startling redefinition is that, in today's terms, millionaire is middle class. And to truly live that opulent lifestyle, often associated with the word, he argues, you need at least $10 million. It completely reframes what financial freedom actually looks like.
Wow. Okay, so if get rich slow is potentially a deception, what's the alternative? This brings us to part 2, the Fastlane road trip and its core principles. The foundational idea seems to be the law of affection. What's that about?
Right. The law of affection basically states, the more people whose lives you affect in an environment you control, the more money you will make.
Affecting lives in an environment you control. Okay.
And this isn't just about, positive thinking or visualization alone. It's rooted in mathematics. It's absolute. He insists that to follow the money is to find affection. Where is value being created at scale?
And how does that connect to personal responsibility? You mentioned control.
It connects directly. Phrases like, they laid me off, or they changed the terms, what the author calls theys, are, in this framework, seen as self-imposed. You're giving away control. He uses the example of a Walmart employee complaining about wages to illustrate, perhaps harshly, a lack of personal responsibility for their economic situation, choosing to stay in that situation.
So it's about reclaiming your agency, isn't it? Taking ownership. It means taking responsibility, saying, okay, it was my fault, maybe not fault, but my choice led here, and accountability. In the future, I will take precautions or make different choices.
Precisely. The law of victims, he proposes, states, you can't be a victim if you don't relinquish power to someone capable of making you a victim. It's really about taking the driver's seat in your life, truly, rather than just being a passenger blaming the driver or the traffic.
Got it. Take the wheel.
Exactly. And when you're in that driver's seat, you gain control over the Fastlane wealth equation. This equation has 2 key parts. First, net profit equals units sold multiplied by unit profit. Simple enough.
Okay, units sold times unit profit equals net profit.
Second, asset value equals that net profit multiplied by an industry multiplier. This is how businesses are valued.
Net profit times industry multiplier equals asset value. Right.
Now, what's revolutionary here, or the key insight, is that these variables, units sold, unit profit, even influencing the multiplier, are unlimited and controllable, unlike your hourly wage. He gives the example of his own internet company. It was attracting, say, 12,000 visitors a day with a $4 conversion value. That's scale.
Huge potential there.
And he recounts sending just one email to advertisers that instantly generated a few $1,000s in reoccurring yearly income with negligible time invested after the initial setup. That's leverage.
Wow. That's where the exponential power really kicks in, isn't it? A mere 1% increase in these controllable variables could mean thousands more, maybe even, as he jokes, a new Lamborghini. Compare that to the rigid ceiling of 24 hours inherent in a job salary.
Totally different ballpark. It really highlights the difference between linear income and exponential growth potential.
So how do you build something that taps into that potential?
Well, the path involves what the author calls the 5 Fastlane business seedlings. These are like models or types of businesses that lend themselves to scale and control. He even assigns passivity grades to these systems, reflecting how much ongoing time and effort is needed after setup. A is the most passive, F would be, well, a job.
Okay, seedling number 1.
First, rental systems. This includes real estate, which he calls Wealth 1.0 or Fastlane 1.0. It's kind of the classic path. It's often slower, though, and success usually involves intended iteration, meaning you need scale. building 200 properties, not just owning one rental house. He points to high-dollar property investors like Donald Trump as illustrating the magnitude often required. Gets an A for passivity potential, though.
Okay, rentals. What's next?
Then there are computer software systems, which the author himself preferred. This includes the internet, apps, software as a service. These get a passivity grade of A. Their potency comes from working 24/7. They don't complain, and they're accessible to millions globally. That's immense leverage. Software specifically often has plump margins and is easily replicated. You can sell one copy or 10,000 with very little difference in marginal cost.
Makes sense. Very scalable. Third.
Next are content systems. Think about things like podcasts, popular blogs, YouTube channels, online courses, books. These create value through information or entertainment. Revenue often comes from ads, subscriptions, affiliate links, or selling your own products tied to that content. These can become incredibly passive once established and popular. Grade, B+, perhaps. Needs ongoing creation often.
Content systems. Got it. Number 4.
And then distribution systems. Amazon.com is a prime example. Uses distributing other people's products or creating your own unique distribution method. But he emphasizes that the tool itself, like using Amazon's platform, is just unrealized potential. It's the business owner's job to turn the engine on and drive the power of the distribution system.
So simply selling on Amazon isn't automatically Fastlane?
Not necessarily, especially regarding control. This is where he critiques things like network marketing or MLMs. He sees it as a hitchhiking strategy. Why? Because he argues it violates the commandment of control. You typically have no say over the product, the pricing, the compensation plan, the policies. This often leads to a constant chase, what he calls a rabbit race from one carrot to the next when companies change terms or disappear. Violates control. Passivity might seem high, but control is low.
Okay, that's a critical distinction. Control is key. And the last seedling.
Finally, there are human resource systems. Basically, leveraging other people's time and skills by hiring employees. While often necessary for scaling certain businesses, these can significantly reduce the passivity grade. Managing people takes time and energy. He uses the example of a self-storage facility. Adding automated kiosks, a computer system makes the business maybe 85% passive. But relying heavily on human staff would drop that passivity score considerably.
Right, so it's a trade-off, balancing control, leverage, and the desire for passive income.
Exactly. It's about designing the business model intentionally.
This leads to another crucial Fastlane principle I found interesting. Execution is priceless, ideas are worthless. That sounds harsh. What does he mean?
Well, maybe worthless is hyperbole, but his point is an idea is merely an event, a spark. Execution is the continuous process that turns the spark into a fire. He points out Pierre Omidyar didn't just have the idea for eBay in a flash of unprecedented brilliance. He turned that flash into massive execution over time. The author even recounts starting his own web business when others were already doing similar things. He succeeded, he claims, by executing better, not by having some spectacular, unique idea nobody else had.
So the secret sauce isn't the unique idea, but the relentless implementation.
That's the argument. It's compelling, though you could debate whether truly disruptive, groundbreaking ideas hold some intrinsic value.
I suppose his emphasis is that even the most revolutionary idea won't go anywhere without relentless effort and execution.
Precisely. And the speed in the fast lane isn't just about moving fast day to day. It's about growing a business exponentially. It's converting potential speed into actual speed through that execution, leading to exploding net income and asset value.
Okay, execution is key. What else differentiates Fastlaners?
A major one is customer service. He notes, and it's hard to disagree, that we often experience a consistently low standard from customer service. We just expect it to be bad.
Oh, yeah. The recorded messages, pressing buttons endlessly, getting shuttled from person to person. Sometimes reps you can barely understand, especially when you're trying to resolve something frustrating like his example of a fraudulent withdrawal at the bank.
Exactly. That widespread mediocrity, ironically, creates a massive advantage for fastlaners.
You know, it's so true. We've all felt that familiar dread when you have to call customer service. That low bar is definitely an opportunity.
Right. So by providing truly exceptional customer satisfaction, what he calls SCS, serves uncommonly. Customer satisfaction businesses can turn customers into lifelong clients and disciples.
And that generates never-ending free advertising through powerful word of mouth, which is gold.
Absolutely. But it's also important to pick your battles. He invokes that Bill Cosby quote, "I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody." The goal isn't to please everyone, bend over backwards for unreasonable people, but to identify patterns and enhance service value for your ideal customer base. Serve them uncommonly well.
Serve your target market exceptionally well. Makes sense.
Another critical point is getting into business for the right reason. He sees many people starting businesses out of, well, selfish desire, just doing what they love or doing what they know, rather than fulfilling a genuine market need.
What's wrong with doing what you love?
Nothing, inherently. But if the market doesn't need or want what you love doing, or if it's already saturated, it's not a viable fast-lane business. He uses the limousine industry as a stark example. Often too many companies, excess supply, leading to commoditization and just brutal price wars.
Yeah.
Businesses truly succeed by providing solutions to problems, not just by satisfying the owner's personal passions. Find the intersection.
Okay, so solve problems, meet needs first. How do you stand out if the market is crowded, though?
That's where you need a unique selling proposition, or USP. It's a clear, compelling reason why your product or service is different and better than the competition. It has to be strong enough to convince people to buy from you, switch brands, and critically, you must deliver on that promise. Think of that classic 30-minute pizza guarantee. If you promise it, you better do it.
Right, the promise has to be real.
Okay.
Beyond a strong USP, does he suggest other ways to get noticed? Cut through the noise.
Yeah, he outlined several strategies. Polarization is one intentionally challenging normal or conventional wisdom. Kind of like the viewpoints in this book itself, right? It gets attention.
That's something provocative. What else?
Being risque or leveraging sex is another tactic he mentions. GoDaddy's early Super Bowl ads are cited as a famous example, drawing eyeballs and increasing market share through provocative, maybe controversial, marketing.
Okay. Edgy.
You can also leverage emotion. Arousing strong feelings to compel people to buy, make them exhilarate, cry, or laugh. Think of those heart-wrenching charity ads or incredibly funny commercials. And finally, interactivity, allowing people to taste it, feel it, or use it. Free samples, test drives, demos. He even cites Facebook surveys as an example, cleverly leveraging people's natural inclination towards narcissism and talking about themselves to gather data and engage users.
Interesting tactics. He also dives into price and value, explaining that price implicitly conveys value and worth. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, this was fascinating. He uses a powerful anecdote of an artist friend. She initially priced her really exquisite paintings far too low, like $90, because of her own corrupted vision of price. She couldn't imagine paying more herself, maybe.
Okay.
When she finally courageously increased the price to $300, guess what happened? Sales actually increased.
Wow. So the higher price signaled higher value.
Exactly. It vividly demonstrates that price implies value and defines brands. The message is, don't let your own financial filters or hangups distort your true earning potential. Price appropriately for the value you deliver, maybe even premiumly.
That's a big mindset shift for many. Now, as you build this valuable business, the source emphasizes business monogamy over polygamy. What's that about?
It warns against what he calls Tekel syndrome, or opportunity hopping neurosis.
Yeah.
You know the type, right? Involved in a different amazing business idea every single week.
Yeah, shiny object syndrome.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
This, the author argues, leads to weak business commitment, which inevitably commits you to weak assets. You never build anything substantial. The most successful entrepreneurs, he notes, typically live their business and were 100% committed to it, at least initially. Focus intensely on one thing first.
So it's about building one strong money tree before trying to plant a whole forest, essentially.
That's a great way to put it. The insight is that successful business monogamy, that intense focus on one venture, creates the strong foundation, the cash flow, the systems, the asset value that can later lead to successful business polygamy or diversification if you choose. But you need the first one to work, really work first.
Right. Makes sense. When do you know you've achieved enough success in that first monogamous business to even consider diversifying?
Well, I'd say it's when that initial venture generates truly significant passive income and asset value, when it no longer demands your constant, direct, day-to-day involvement to thrive, when it's a well-oiled machine.
Okay. And at the heart of all this, ultimately, is the power of choices, right?
Absolutely central. The source states, very directly, you are exactly where you chose to be, and that the leading cause of poorness is poor choices. It's blunt.
Very blunt. Does it offer tools to make better choices?
It does. Two are highlighted. First, the worst-case consequence analysis, WCCA. This is a forward-thinking analysis where you ask, okay, what's the absolute worst that could happen if I do this? And equally important, what's the worst that could happen if I don't do this? He gives the example of having a fast car, but consciously choosing not to street race, analyzing the worst case, potentially killing yourself or others. The WCCA helps evaluate risk properly.
Okay, WCCA. And the second tool?
The Weighted Average Decision Matrix, WADM. This is a bit more complex, but it helps make better big decisions with multiple contingencies, things with lots of factors to consider. You basically list criteria, weight them by importance, score options against criteria, and calculate a weighted score. Helps remove emotion.
Sounds useful for major forks in the road.
Definitely. And the source stresses, especially for younger listeners, that if you're under 30, your choices are at peak horsepower. Why? Because those early choices grow the thick branches of your choice tree. Their impact on your future trajectory is exponentially magnified compared to choices made later in life. The earlier you make smart choices, the greater the compounding effect over time.
Powerful image. But the journey isn't always smooth, right? There are obstacles.
Oh, absolutely. You'll inevitably encounter what the source calls human headwinds. These are the bloviators, as he puts it, maybe well-meaning friends, family, teachers, even gurus who add friction to the journey with their doubt and disbelief.
Oh, that won't work, or someone is already doing that, or that sounds risky crowd.
Exactly that crowd. It's almost like a gravitational pull, isn't it?
Yeah.
Society has this prescription for normal. Wake up, work, eat, watch TV, sleep, repeat, survive, don't thrive. The author really emphasizes the need to break free of society's gravitational force and its well-trodden, safe, but ultimately slow path.
Any examples of overcoming that?
He cites Sylvester Stallone as an entrepreneur who famously turned an environmental headwind, everyone telling him he couldn't star in his own script, into a tailwind. Stallone insisted on playing the lead role in Rocky, which he saw as his product that touched millions. It shows how fierce determination can overcome that external skepticism and doubt.
Great example. So tying it all together, what's the ultimate goal of the fast lane?
Ultimately, the fast lane is about understanding that freedom has a price, and that price is money. Not in a greedy way, but pragmatically. Money isn't inherently evil in this view. It's the soldiers for your army of freedom fighters. It buys back your time.
Okay. And the strategy to get those soldiers?
It's a two-pronged approach, he suggests. First, build a fast lane business. This acts as the cash-flowing equivalent of a lump sum. It generates significant income quickly. Then, use the proceeds from that business to fund a money system. That's your traditional passive income investments, like bonds, dividend stocks, maybe real estate rentals managed by others. His example, getting $10 million from selling your business, then lending it out or investing it at, say, 5%, that yields $500,000 a year, or 41,666 tens in a month in truly passive income. That's the freedom point.
That definitely paints a clear picture, but managing that kind of money requires knowledge.
Absolutely critical. This approach inherently emphasizes financial literacy. The source asserts, quite strongly, that a financial advisor doesn't fix financial illiteracy. Without genuine understanding of money, investments, risk, you can't properly assess the advice you're given. You can't hear the whistle, as he puts it, about potential fraud, referencing the Bernie Madoff scandal as a case where people trusted blindly.
So financial literacy is your essential insurance policy on the fast lane.
Couldn't have said it better. And for fastlaners, that old advice, live below your means, takes on a totally new meaning. It's not merely about restricting your spending, being frugal forever. It's about actively working to expand your means exponentially through your business growth, so your lifestyle desires are easily covered by your income, not the other way around.
Expand your means. Don't just restrict your life. Got it.
So to recap our deep dive into the Millionaire Fastlane, we've really challenged that conventional get-rich-slow path, haven't we? Exposed it as a potential dream killer, or at least a dream delayer.
Yeah, we've explored the critical importance of, well, rejecting slow wealth accumulation as the only path, embracing control over your financial destiny, and leveraging that law of affection by impacting many lives within a system you control.
It's about understanding that execution is, well, maybe not priceless, but incredibly valuable. More valuable than the idea itself. Providing uncommonly good customer service. Identifying and fulfilling genuine market needs, not just your own passions.
And committing intensely to a single business vision, at least initially that business monogamy idea. Plus making smart, informed choices, especially early on, that powerfully propel you forward.
Exactly. And here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. The source constantly reinforces the finite nature of time. He describes it vividly as the gas tank of life that can't be created outside of your mortal limits. It runs out. He calls those who squander this most valuable asset time losers.
Hmm.
Considering this, if time losers are those who squander their most valuable asset, what specific dead time, like commuting, mindlessly scrolling, or what treasonous choices that trade time for minimal gain, are you currently tolerating in your life? And how could that time, those choices, be transformed into meaningful progress on your own fast lane, whatever that looks like for you?
That is a powerful question, isn't it? Really makes you think. So maybe take a moment to reflect on your own roadmap, as the author calls it, and the choices you're making day to day. Are you actively building the money trees that will eventually bear the fruit of true freedom? Or are you, perhaps unintentionally, just waiting for that wealth in a wheelchair future? The choice, it seems, is undeniably yours.